Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I find it so funny how time and time again, Donald Trump always seems to be proven right. The media's always ran with this idea that Donald Trump is unhinged, he's crazy, he's a conspiracy theorist, he says things that can't be backed up, but time and time again, it's almost like the Alex Jones phenomenon. We're putting a coin in the Donald Trump was right jar. Oh, well, would you look at that? It turns out that Donald Trump warned us about this, and now here we are, many years later, experiencing the fallout from not having heeded his warning. And in this case, it takes us back to the real inception of Donald Trump as a president, or as a presidential candidate. We all remember what he said when he came down that golden escalator. He said, they're not bringing their best. Immigration is one thing, but this open borders nonsense, allowing criminals to cross over illegally and embed themselves underground in American society, obviously isn't a good idea and was going to have devastating consequences. They said he was lying, they said he was a racist, but in the end, Donald Trump was right. And that's exactly what's happening, and worst of all, Democrats seem to be funding and enabling it all. Trump was right back in 2016 during his Golden Escalator campaign speech announcement. He tried to warn us, he told us that criminals, drug addicts, and unstable individuals were pouring into the country unchecked, and now here we are 9 years later, essentially watching that warning play out in real time. We got some more information around this Sebastian Zepeda individual, who was just arrested for lighting that woman on fire in the New York City subway system. Let's go over some of that information and of course talk about why it's so important. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the latest update in this incident. The Guatemalan migrant who shocked the world by lighting a sleeping woman on fire in a New York City subway chain smoked the synthetic drug K2, according to his homeless shelter roommate. Now, I'm not an expert on these synthetic drugs, but from what I understand, K2 is spice, if I'm not mistaken. It's a synthetic cannabinoid that reacts very differently with cannabinoid receptors. I'm sure you guys are aware of what this is. I think people call it bath salts, they call it spice, there's all kinds of different names for it. But basically, we're talking about those synthetic drugs that seem to pass through some sort of legal gray zone due to the fact that these chemical manufacturers keep slightly altering or iterating on the chemical composition, which then in turn allows them to claim that it's a different chemical composition, a different drug than what the DEA has on the books. We've seen so many stories of people getting hooked on this stuff and then committing horrible atrocities. But anyways, here's the update. We've got an individual by the name of Raymond Robinson who slept next to Zepeda at the shelter, telling the New York Post that the migrant was a heavy drinker who, quote, bugged out when smoking the K2. He smoked K2, drank, and bugged out. He would bug out and talk to himself when he was high, but he never harmed nobody but himself. When he wasn't high, he'd talk like we were talking regular. Zepeda told police that he was so drunk that he did not remember lighting the woman on fire. So essentially, this guy was a tweaker and an alcoholic, and we have some video evidence to suggest that that's likely the case.
La pregunta es de que yo tomo mi cerveza y yo vivo lo que yo soy mientras que no molesto a nadie, no molesto a nadie.
That's a video of the individual totally out of his mind drunk. And so obviously you get where I'm going with this when it comes to immigration policy. Severe alcoholic drug addict tweakers, well, probably shouldn't be at the top of the list when it comes to who we're allowing into the nation, right? But here's where things get completely wild. Apparently, it's not just an isolated phenomenon. Apparently, according to this guy Raymond Robinson, who's living in the shelter with a lot of these illegal migrants, it's a pretty common trend. He said this as well. The migrants mainly get up in the morning, leave, and come back drunk. Quote, he would come back drunk most days. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. It seems like a lot of the individuals who are coming in on their own volition, well, they're not exactly stable members of society now, are they?
You can't believe it. So sad. Last year, almost half of all ICE arrests were criminal aliens charged for more than 33,000 assaults, 3,000 robberies, 6,900 burglaries, 7,500 weapons crimes. This is all migrant crime. These are the people that are coming into our country. And they're coming from jails, and they're coming from prisons, and they're coming from mental institutions, being let into our country, and it's horrible.
You know, maybe Trump was right when he was saying a lot of the undesirable people from these foreign South American nations are essentially being shipped up north. When Donald Trump's talking about the Venezuelan government essentially emptying their prisons and shipping all those people to migrate to the United States illegally, yeah, maybe he was onto something. And just think about the absurdity of this. You're subsidizing the practice. Hardworking Americans are having their tax dollars used to house and care for people who shouldn't even be in the country, and some of these individuals, then go on to commit atrocities like this one. And I know the Democrats love to paint this idyllic picture of migrants as being hardworking people, mostly women and children just looking for a better life, and I know I've heard the talking point that supposedly these migrants are even better citizens than actual American citizens, according to them. But while maybe some of that might be true, it's obviously not true for all. And stories like this one from New York, I think, are forcing people to confront the harsh reality that many of the people flooding into the nation are not coming to contribute. They're coming to exploit. Criminals, drug addicts, and unstable individuals clearly are taking advantage of Democrat open border policies and sanctuary city policies, and the consequences are falling squarely on the shoulders of innocent Americans. The left's naive approach to immigration is being exposed for what it truly is, a dangerous gamble with the safety of American citizens. You know, what we've seen here, the Democrats' track record on this issue is not just them allowing people into the nation, it's about allowing anyone into the nation, no matter their criminal history, mental state, or likelihood of actually contributing to society. They're just allowing anybody to come in and roam free without oversight, and they expect you to pay for it. It's not just women and kids, like AOC would want you to believe. No, it's MS-13 members, Tren de Aragua members, and totally unstable substance abusers. In other words, Trump was right. He was right all along. They called him crazy, they said he was mad, they said he was hateful, and he was doing it just because he didn't like people with certain skin complexions that were different than his. But in the end, it was all a load of crap. And what's obvious here is that the Democrat Party sold out the nation for their own interest. They allowed and enabled chaos to ensue under their watch because they were more interested in the optics, they were more interested in the narrative, and of course they were more interested in granting mass amnesty to all the people that entered the country illegally because of how it affects the census, and of course with the hope they'd never lose an election ever again. They allowed gangs, drug addicts, murderers, straight up unstable people into the nation, and they looked the other way. And they said that Donald Trump was the crazy person while they were engaging in this insane behavior. I guess in other words, the blood is very obviously on their side. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.